Hi, this is Kate with Representative Davids on, and Ash, I just wanted to let you know that Representative Davids is on here, and I don't know how you all get started with these things, but just wanted to check in.
I am going to go ahead and get started here in about 2 minutes.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, Kate, Representative Davids, we're going to go ahead and get started here. Thank you both for being with us tonight. I'm so appreciative to have you both here, especially to you, Representative Davids. We know you're so busy up there in Washington, so I'm so excited to have you here. I'm going to go ahead and introduce you. So for those of you that don't know, though I feel like most of us do, I think that most of the people that are attending tonight are from the Junior League of Kansas City, Missouri, which kind of straddles both sides of the state line, as well as the Junior League of Wyandotte and Johnson counties. So we want to go ahead and introduce Representative Davids at this time. So Representative Davids was raised by a single mother who served in the Army for 20 years. After graduating from Leavenworth High School, she worked her way through Johnson County Community College and through the University of Missouri, Kansas City. And then before she earned her law degree at Cornell Law School. As a first-generation college student who worked the entire time she was in college, Representative Davids understands the importance of quality public schools and affordable higher education. Sorry, there's too many things going on at the time.
No, it's totally fine.
Right? So
if you want to do the other thing, maybe is it because people need to be let in and stuff?
Yes. And so what I'm doing for those of you that are being let in, I'm actually checking you in manually because for some reason we did not get a check-in code. So
yeah, do that for a couple minutes. I'm going to grab a piece of chocolate then.
Oh, absolutely. I love the way you think. Right? Okay. But Representative Davids understands the importance of quality public schools and affordable higher education. It's that foundation that has allowed her to go on to a successful career focused on economic and community development, which included time as a White House fellow under President Barack Obama. When she was sworn into the 116th Congress, Representative Davids became one of the first two Native American women to serve in Congress. Representative Davids has centered her work in office on putting Kansans first, fighting to limit the influence of special interests, and make healthcare more affordable and accessible to everyone. She is also a resident of Roland Park, Kansas. So thank you, Representative Davids, for being here. And with that, I'm going to turn the floor over to you.
Oh, perfect. And I'm glad to be here tonight, this afternoon. Tonight, yeah, it's nighttime. I'm glad the days we have more sunshine during the days because It feels like the longest year ever. And I think it's true, as you get older, the years feel shorter, but not 2020. So
ever, right?
yeah. So yeah, I'm glad I'm getting the chance to join you all here this evening. I'm definitely looking forward to when we can do this sort of thing in person. And maybe that'll be, 6 or 8 months from now, maybe we can try to come together again. But I am glad that we get to do these things by Zoom or all the other platforms. And also maybe we'll get to see a dog or something run around in the background here, because I feel like
now I should let mine out of the kennel.
there we go. I feel like it's not a Zoom unless we've got pets or little kids running around. So it feels like a really long time ago, but it was not that long ago. It was just this past November that I was fortunate enough and honored to be reelected to the 3rd district seat and get the chance to serve another term in Congress. And even though this year has already been just the 2021 has already been a pretty we'll call it interesting year. We have had a lot of difficulties, but we also have had the chance to see a lot of our opportunities that we're going to have. And I know I've been heartened to see that the vaccine availability is increasing, that we're starting to get back to something that feels at least a little bit like we can see the sun breaking through the clouds on this pandemic. And even with all that stuff going on, I know we still have a lot of work to do. And I know I am, and our office, everybody on our team is taking the pandemic and the relief efforts and that sort of thing very seriously. And we're also taking very seriously all of the other stuff that we have to do, because the pandemic has been dominating, but there's still a lot left to work on, whether we're talking about, access to healthcare broadly, mental and behavioral health access, addressing infrastructure needs. We've gotten a head start on some of that this year with the American Rescue Plan, on trying to get our economy back up and running again, at full speed. But making sure that getting those resources out there to get the virus under control is obviously the first step. Making sure that folks are taken care of. Whether it's getting them their vaccine, getting direct checks out to people, making sure people have access to unemployment benefits, and then personally for me, I've been pushing for expanding Medicaid in our state, because I think that's, there's probably about 165,000 people in our state that could benefit from Medicaid expansion. So, I do want to make sure that if, I think we're going to get to do a Q&A portion of this. I would love for us to be able to have like a open dialogue and conversation. So I'll leave you with two more things. One, because I'm just a infrastructure nerd, I get the chance to serve as the vice chair of the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. And it's really interesting work, especially to me, but the transportation and infrastructure is something that I didn't realize that I was going to love so much. I ended up being out here for about a year doing a program called the White House Fellows Program, And I got the chance to serve day to day at the Department of Transportation. And frankly, when I was going around and like working on getting placed at one of the departments, DOT was not even on my radar. And that's not an aviation joke, but I should make it into one at some point. But I ended up getting the chance to talk to Secretary Anthony Fox, who was running the Department of Transportation and was working on equity issues. And it was during that time that I realized that transportation and infrastructure policy, like it touches every aspect of our lives, how we get to work and to healthcare and to education and to places of recreation and worship and like all of these different things. And it was something that I hadn't really spent a ton of time thinking about before. So I left that experience, like calling myself a born again transportation enthusiast. So I get to be on that committee. And then I also get the chance to serve on the small business committee. And I think, in the Kansas City metro area, I feel like, I feel like entrepreneurship is kind of like baked into the DNA of the place. And so getting to serve on the small business committee has definitely been a really great fit. And yeah, so those are the last two things I think I wanted to share. And then yeah, I'm looking forward to getting into some of the Q&A.
Okay, with that said, who has questions? So I feel like there are probably a lot.
They don't have to be about transportation and infrastructure, but if they are, I'm not going to argue.
So a little background on myself. I am the Community Conversations and Advocacy Chair for the Junior League of Kansas City, Missouri. We do straddle both sides of the state line, of course, with a lot of our community partners, as well as our members sitting actually within Johnson and Wyandotte counties, which are, of course, two of the biggest counties that you represent. How would some of these committees and some of the things that you're advocating for at the national level actually impact the people in your communities?
Yeah, that's a good question. There's a couple of things that first I'll talk about a little bit about the first bill that I introduced and got passed. The Women's Business Center Improvement Act is the first. It was in 2019. It was the first bill that I introduced. I went down to the House floor. Now that it's COVID, it's a little bit different, but we're still doing stuff where you take the document down to the House floor, you drop it off with the clerk, and then they give it a bill number and that sort of thing. So that is a bill that the Women's Business Center for the Kansas City area and for all of Kansas is in the 3rd district. It's in Johnson County, just off Shawnee Mission Parkway. And when I introduced and got that bill passed, what it did was increase the resources that would go to women's business centers and help women entrepreneurs with there it is. Would help women entrepreneurs with starting or growing businesses, making sure they've got the resources, and help with getting some of the expertise that's necessary, because it's hard to get a business off the ground. It's hard to grow it. There are a lot of different sticking points for people depending on what their skill set is coming into their business. And so that was, serving on the small business committee and getting the chance to see that was an area that we could improve. And then actually introducing a piece of legislation and getting it passed into law, which means it was a bipartisan bill that had full support in the Small Business Committee of both Democrats and Republicans. Same on the House floor. The Senate passed it, and in the last administration, the president signed it. So, one, I think that illustrates ways that, there might be bills that have a positive impact directly on some pretty important stuff in our region, but that, isn't always on the headlines of the news. Same with the bipartisan bills. That's exactly the kind of bill that we sometimes see going through. And we know that there are a number of bills that passed with bipartisan support and got signed into law that is not necessarily always the focus of the news. So that's one thing. And then, I think that when it came to the American Rescue Plan, the state of Kansas, the state of Missouri, the different counties, like quite a few dollars are going to Wyandotte County, Johnson County, Kansas City, Missouri, Jackson County, to help alleviate some of the downturn that we've seen, because the public health crisis has, required us to, take a pause on some stuff, really slow some stuff down. So, yeah, I would say those are probably like two quicker examples.
And if anybody has questions, please go ahead and unmute yourself and ask those questions.
Also, your dog's real cute.
Thank you. This is Prada.
What is it?
This is Prada.
Oh,
I do have another one, but she's a little bit more camera shy. This one has, yeah.
No problem getting in front of, nice.
Yeah, she's like, I am always here for a Zoom call. So, like, it seems like Lexi has a
Yeah,
question.
I was going to say, first of all, Representative Davis, thank you so much for taking time to meet with us.
Oh, of course.
So some background on myself. I work for KU Medical Center full-time, and then I work part-time at Made in Kansas City, so a small business. So I feel like what I'm seeing is huge cuts to higher ed, as part of the coronavirus situation, especially on the medical center side. And then we're also seeing it's really hard to staff the small local businesses. I keep seeing in the news that people are having a hard time staffing up some of these kind of hourly positions. And so what that leads me to believe is that there's kind of some instability in what the recovery is looking like right now. Would you be able to speak to kind of a plan for recovering that higher ed piece and medical center side piece? And then also kind of, if you have any insight on some of the issues that are going on with small business. I think I'm just kind of confused with the disparity of recovery funds and then seeing firsthand the difficulty kind of staffing up those businesses.
Yeah. What does that look like for the smaller, for Made in KC? What does that look like for staffing up? Is it
So what we're seeing is it's a lot of people like myself where I work full time during the week, and so I can only work on the weekends. And so they're having a really hard time staffing up weekday positions. It's a lot of people who are kind of, like myself. What happened to me is that when they froze promotions and pay increases, it was within my first year of working. And so I kind of was like, okay, there's a little bit of a stopgap that I need to fill by picking up a second job. But it seems like we're super overstaffed on weekends, but struggling to get people to work during the week because so many people are trying to pick up second jobs.
So there's a couple of things that I'll talk about the at least the stuff as it relates to the KU Medical School and then KU Medical Center, which they make sure every time I go over there, they're like, there's the school and then there's the medical center. And there's a couple of things that we've done First of all, I do think like in the very beginning of the pandemic, when none of us realized, I mean, I was actually just talking to a guy earlier today who said, I mean, it was kind of this like, can you believe we're in a pandemic conversation? And how many people thought that we were going to be talking about, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, and here we are over a year later, still trying to figure this stuff out. And I mean, even Congress, when we passed the very first COVID related package, that was in March, and then it was the CARES Act. And so I think that in the first couple of packages, universities and hospitals and that sort of thing were, I think it was unclear what the impact was going to be. And so we've had to pass a couple of different, I think we've had like 7 COVID related bills at this point. It might be 6, but I mean, these are like the number of times that Congress has had to come back and say, okay, we missed this thing, whatever the gap was, has certainly had a big impact. And then like for the higher ed piece, all that research that was going on that really had to kind of to be on the safe side. Some of it was just kind of elongated, and some of it actually came to a complete stop because of the type of research it was. And so I know there's been I'm a co-sponsor of a bill. I believe it's called the RISE Act, and I feel like Kate will. I'm going to just say this. Kate, chime in if I say something wrong.
You said it right.
Okay, I was going to say you can also chime in if you just want to add something. Kate's our she's a amazing team member here on our legislative team, and that would help buttress some of that academic research, the academic research dollars. So that's there's a lot of pieces around getting money to, and some of the state and local funding. When we talk about state and local funding, which is a very broad term, but we say it a lot when we're talking about things like the American Rescue Plan. Some of those dollars are designed to go to higher education, like our state schools and stuff like that, and even K through 12 schools. And then on the small business piece of it, I think that the question you ask is kind of, and even the recognition that different parts of our economy are doing this, right? Like there are some pieces of our economy that, there are some parts of our economy that actually are doing better because of the type of work or type of service that they provide. And then there are some parts of our economy that are just like really struggling. I know I had a meeting with folks who are restaurant owners, like local restaurant owners that have either had to pivot, are really struggling. They're also struggling sometimes to find employees. And so I think that what we have tried to do from the small business committee perspective, and in these bills, is to try to figure out a way to do stuff that's broad enough to be helpful to a lot of businesses, and also not have just a cookie cutter approach, which is, frankly, it's a hard thing for the federal government to do because it's, so massive. And so some of what we did, with the Paycheck Protection Program, which was designed to help make sure that people could, small businesses could keep people on payroll. We had to come back and do the Paycheck Protection Program Flexibility Act, because what we saw was a bunch of businesses were like, hey, I don't fit this specific category, or, our business is too small. We don't have a team of accountants that can do all of this, all of the red tape. And so so we have had to come back multiple times frankly, to the drawing board and make sure that we're actually being responsive to some of the stuff that the small businesses are telling us. And yeah, I mean, I think it's a really great observation that there are, I can't remember what phrase you used, but when you were describing it, I was thinking that it's definitely a very uneven recovery up to this point. But I do think even though it looks like this, it was down here doing that, and now it's kind of up here doing that, because we're starting to see more shots in people's arms and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's been a really unique experience because in my full-time job, I can, transferred completely from home, stayed on full salary, like kind of had that luxury. And then also working, customer service on the weekends, I kind of got to see two very different aspects of how everything has been impacted. So it's just been a very interesting kind of way to see this whole thing roll out.
Yeah, I mean, and I think you probably have like I mean, I know there are a lot of people who are working multiple jobs and trying to pick up shifts and stuff, but that's like a unique set of views and experiences.
Well, thank you for speaking to that. I think it makes a lot of sense. And I do hope that everything kind of starts to balance out a little bit. I think with the small business part, I think that there was conversation about maybe some misunderstanding or balancing the support given to small businesses with the kind of support given to unemployment with kind of the COVID relief package, where there was comments about how people, were receiving more income on unemployment versus taking a position. So kind of like figuring out the balance that incentivizes people to get to work, but also fully recognizing that not everybody's in the same position and risk level is different.
So I kind of wanted to touch really quickly on what our legislative agenda and policy statement includes here in the Junior League of Kansas City, Missouri. And I also want to offer Keely Phelan, who is the president of the Wyandotte and Johnson County Leagues, to also give her input on that if she, if she'd like to add to this conversation. But here in Kansas City, we are always looking to elevate women and children, and also to eliminate systemic racism. And we also want to address equity in healthcare. Obviously these are super broad because we just don't have time to dive into like all the 50 other things that are listed under those topics. But I do want to turn it over to Keely for just a second and see if she has anything to add to that.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Yeah, like everybody has had to pivot a lot this year. It's board meetings are online, everything is Zoom, but we've been really creative. We've had to apply for a couple of PPP loans, and we got a grant from Johnson County. So that was really, that's basically like helping us keep afloat. And also, like she said, we've added a lot of diversity and inclusion series this year, which we're going to continue throughout the summer and just kind of educate our membership. We also are currently trying to get our fundraisers back up and running. It's been kind of a challenge since our big fundraiser got canceled this past year. So yeah, we just appreciate the opportunity to be here and excited to learn the rest of today.
So with that said, I know Charisse has to jump off. So
I I knew maybe I should have said this earlier, or maybe I should have not talked as long earlier. I don't know. But there was a couple things I was thinking about, especially when it comes to the, I think that we're seeing in the United States, of course, but also in our region, a really concerning crisis around, because talking about equity and also talking about children, and like taking care of children and families. And one of the things that I joined the Black Maternal Health Caucus in the last Congress. And in the last Congress, we, under the leadership of Congresswoman Lauren Underwood, who's from Illinois, and came in the same, we came in together in 2018, and Congresswoman Adams, who has been in the House for a little while, introduced and passed in the last Congress, and we reintroduced it. This Congress it's called the Mommy Bus, but it's a series of bills that are aimed at trying to address maternal mortality, infant mortality, and just the ways that we are collecting data. So the bill that I introduced, the Data to Save Moms Act, would help with the collection of data and the types of data that's being collected. There are multiple bills in there to extend out the amount of time that a person would be, that we would consider maternal mortality and that sort of thing. And then, so I think that the fact that we've got so many members in Congress who are concerned about that when it comes to that piece of the healthcare system. And then the other thing that I think is really important is coming out of this pandemic, we've seen a number of marginalized communities been negatively disproportionately impacted by the coronavirus pandemic. And I think that there are a couple of different things about that. Some of that is socioeconomic status. Rural folks who don't have access to healthcare, like literally, like it's too far. And then even folks who are like, maybe the physical distance isn't super far, but the ability to access that healthcare there are just so many issues that have been exacerbated by this. And we've got a lot of folks who are working on those issues. And we've seen a bit of that in the American Rescue Plan, in terms of the vaccine rollout and trying to make sure that we're like meeting people where they're at. And then the last thing I just wanted to bring up is the how traumatizing all of this whole year has been. That's around the pandemic, the racial justice or injustice issues that we've seen, and then the economic hardships that folks are facing, that they for some people has been a reality for a long time, and for some people this is a new reality. And to have your whole life change so much over such a long period of time. So accessing mental and behavioral health and emotional health resources, and then trauma-informed care, like these are two things that my office is really elevating as a priority. So, and I know we don't, there's never enough time, and I do have another thing tonight. And
I do want to say thank you for, especially obviously within the scope of this pandemic, mental health has become a huge issue And we don't have nearly enough time, right, tonight to touch on that. And I applaud you for calling that out as well. But I would also like to thank you for being here. If anybody else has additional questions, please go ahead and submit them to me, and maybe we can forward them to your office.
Yeah, that would be perfect.
And we can just address them kind of more as a blanket level rather than keeping you here. But I thank you so much, Representative Davids, for being here with us tonight. I truly appreciate it. Also, thanks to your staff, because they have been completely amazing in getting all of this set up. So
Thank you so much. Good to talk to you tonight. Hopefully we can do this again. Maybe we'll have more than just a next time.
Well, and normally, well, we do have more than this signed up. So we'll definitely do this again. Hopefully in the next year as we go into advocacy days. And then for Junior League of Wyandotte and Johnson and Junior League of Kansas City, Missouri, please stay on the call, and we will kind of give you league updates as we go. Thank you so much, Kate.
See you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, Charisse.
Thanks.
So great to see you. All right. Actually, I'm going to turn this over to Keely first, if you're okay with that.
Sure, it's Kylie.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
I really probably should have asked that. But.
No, you're totally fine.
So tell us what you guys have been working on this year in Wyandotte and Johnson counties.
Well, let's see. I took over in June, and we kind of have switched a model. I don't know how you guys are, but we used to have like all these different requirements that had to happen of, how many meetings that you had to attend and all that stuff. But we, with our small league, big impact, we have done a rollout to be a more like your own experience. Like you have to pay your dues and you have to be a part of a committee or whatever. So at the beginning of the year, we created this kind of like organizational calendar that just kind of like had different things like social, training, content, just all kinds of different things. So it was already on the calendar for the whole entire year. So I think that that's definitely like helped us keep organized and just keep, people interested. And I just, like I was saying before, it's like we've really had to pivot and be creative. We spent a lot of time like behind the scenes of doing kind of like cleanup kind of stuff where it's like we're updating our bylaws, we're updating policies and procedures because we can't get together on like these big group things. So like we're just trying to concentrate on the things that we can change. So a lot of like donations. We worked with Ronald McDonald House to get donations out. We started a book club this year because we figured that was to be one thing that like we could, go outside. We've been, like meeting at like a winery after like, or like the beginning of, or like in the winter, we were meeting over Zoom, but that's been a fun like
winery.
addition.
Can we join you?
Do what?
What winery and can we join you?
Absolutely. You guys are always welcome. We've been to Casey Wine Co. And then the last one we went to that was the Stone Pillar. And I think the one we're going to go to next, maybe in July, is going to be the Aubrey Vineyards. I don't know if you guys have heard of that.
I have not heard of that, but
yeah,
one of our sustaining members owns Somerset.
That's a good one.
So maybe we can actually invite you guys onto that one.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm always down for a winery. So
who isn't?
Yeah. I'm trying to think of what else. Like I said, we were doing the diversity and inclusion series. So that's been cool. We're actually having, I think we touched on mental health. We're having Michelle Lane. She works for North Kansas City Hospital. So she's coming and she's going to talk about some mental health topics tomorrow at our meeting. So that'll be pretty interesting. Yeah, I think that's kind of like what we have going on right now and trying to get new members and all the fun stuff, you know, behind the scenes. But yeah,
That's-
it's still been a good year. I'm proud of like what we've been able to accomplish, regardless of, you know, how crazy it's been. It was definitely not normal, but I'm proud of the girls and everything that we were able to do this year.
Right. And I think that that has been kind of a big thing within all of our leagues this year, is how do we navigate this new kind of world order, I guess, to some extent.
Definitely.
So I mentioned that we are like kind of what our focus areas are. So this year, our league here in Kansas City decided to voted in a new position. So we now have, for the 2021-2022 league year, we do have a director of diversity, equity, and inclusion coming onto our board, which we're super excited about. And when we also worked out our legislative agenda policy statement, we did actually reach directly out to the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee as it stood this year. So we decided, of course, as a league, you know that we always advocate for women and children. So none of that has necessarily changed. We also added the elimination of systemic racism to that, and the kids, sorry about them for a second. Dolce. So we also have added that to our legislative agenda and policy statements. And then we also addressed, or we are also addressing equity in healthcare as well as mental health care. In a year like no other, when mental health has kind of risen to the top, where people are having to wait 8 and 9 months to have to address critical mental health care issues, we felt like this was a very important position. This was a very important thing to bring to the table. And we are working off a policy statement that is amendable. And it's basically a working document that we will use throughout the next however many years until we feel like it needs a complete and total overhaul, or until, you know, all of the things on our legislative agenda and policy statement are accomplished. But that's going to be a long road. So obviously our agenda or our policy statement addresses both sides of the state line. So we're trying to do what we can. Obviously, this year has not been super helpful as far as how we do that, but we're doing the best that we can with what we have at this time. Does anybody else have questions? Karen, I don't know if you have anything that you would like to add. So Karen Vukovich is our president-elect. So, I'm sorry, our president.
Yeah. I was like, no, not elect. I'm almost done. No, I don't have anything to add. Sorry, I was in a transition earlier. That's why I was a little tardy. No, it's exciting. It's been a good year. Kaylee, it's great.
Great year. We've had to readjust and pivot just like you guys have in Wyandotte and Johnson. And we've done the best that we have with what we have, right? So, as I feel like all leagues have had to do.
I do want to give kudos both to Ash and Karen. I think that just as a normal member, the programming from training has been awesome. And then Karen, your creativity and like making sure that we stay connected and making sure that we are, you know, thanked for their service, because I think it was a really stressful year. So, you know, I've loved all the trainings on everything, you know, all of the mental health, justice, all that kind of stuff has been so important. And then Karen, I got to tell you, that drive-in GMM was the coolest thing. I took a video and sent it to my friends in the league that I was in Texas, and they were like, oh my gosh, we need to do this. But anyway, thank you guys both for being awesome this year. I know that was not the year that either of you signed up for. So just as a member, thank you.
Oh my gosh, Lexi, you just made my night. Like, you probably made my week. Thank you. You know, it's not the year any of us asked for, right? From the president down to our, you know, God bless our new members. It has been tough, but I think that what I have encouraged, and Lexi, it sounds like you are the epitome of this, is taking the opportunities that we did provide and the ways that we did work really, really hard across the board, all areas of the league, to make this year meaningful and just hold on to those sparks of joy and kind of just let the rest be, like, show patience, be graceful. Don't, you know, don't armchair quarterback people and say, oh, well, you should have done this or you should have done that. Just kind of get through. And so that just, thank you. That was so sweet.
And yes, thank you, Lexi, for that. And I actually cannot claim credit for a lot of these things. I can claim credit for at least a couple of those things that you said, but I think that it's also, we also owe a lot of credit to the GMM committee, which also falls under the training council, as well as the training committee, which also is under the training council. So they have managed to readjust and pivot in a way that honestly I couldn't have imagined at this point last year. So they've done a fantastic job, and I applaud all of the leaders on the training council and every other council, frankly, for doing such a great job this year. It obviously has not been easy for any of us. And yes, and I think actually Karen was the, according to the GMM chair, Karen was the one that came up with the idea for that drive-in. So, which was so much fun, actually.
I was, because I was tired of Zoom. No offense. I love Zoom. It's great.
Aren't
It
we
has
all?
its place, but I was like, we cannot do one more Zoom on GMM. I was like, we've got to figure this out. So
I want to hear about, what did you guys do? What's the drive-in?
So actually, no, I'll let Karen speak to that.
Oh, so we held our February general membership meeting and socially distanced in our cars at the Boulevard Drive-In movie theater. And we projected everything up on the screen in terms, it was a voting meeting. So we went through our very short condensed business agenda. And then earlier in January, we sent out a poll and asked members to nominate like what movies we provided them a list of movies, and membership voted, and they all wanted to see Bridesmaids. So then we had like little goodie bags that you got when you drove in, and then we all watched Bridesmaids together, and it was super fun.
And
I love that. That's so cute.
And it was combined with a voting meeting too. So
yeah,
this was like the board
idea.
of directors voting meeting, nominating committee, right? And I feel like there was something else on that. Oh, CB&G slate.
CB&G slate. We had a bylaws. A bylaws voting, but I feel like we've been voting all year because we've made so many changes.
We have.
February is always our traditional voting meeting, so it was fun.
And voting through email was super fun, but it was also super fun to like flash our lights and like honk our horns for like applause. It was amazing.
That's awesome.
The best meeting ever. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, actually, I kind of love that.
I mean, bridesmaid and popcorn. That sounds fabulous,
right?
I was like, even after this is over, we still need to do a GMM at the drive-in. I feel like that needs to be a new tradition.
I mean, I would like to thank the GMM committee. Actually, no, Karen, because we're now I actually sit on the board of another organization. We're now having like a little fundraiser at Boulevard Drive-In. So, yay!
Love that.
Of all the best ideas that Karen has come up with, like, hey, this is such a great idea for like a fundraiser too. So, you know, it is what it is. So we've had to pivot so incredibly this year, and obviously like a lot of things, because all our fundraisers had to pivot and adjust to certain things that maybe we wanted to accomplish earlier on in the year didn't happen that early in the year. And so, but understanding and giving people grace is always a huge part of that. So I feel like we kind of knocked it out of the park as a league this year, given all the things that we were dealing with.
Hi, Ash. This is Danielle. I texted you and let you know I was here.
I did.
I absolutely
And I
have to
thought you
agree.
checked in, so.
Perfect. Yeah. And on the tails of that, I have to agree that I'm still working from home, and my husband is now back in the office, but his employer's expectation is that I basically do the drop off and pickup of the kids. And unfortunately, with working from home and the kids, it didn't really leave much extra time, if you will. I guess, yeah, that's, but in the few opportunities that I did get to do, I was able to take one of the kids, which was really kind of my whole goal with the league. And the other opportunities that I've been to, I've always taken my daughter, she's 6, and we got to make a recipe in our kitchen and record it. And she loved that. She was convinced we were making a YouTube channel. I'm a little concerned. We spent too much time on YouTube, but I am incredibly thankful for how flexible the whole league has been this year, because for some people it provided more time, more extra time, but for some people it didn't. And I was still able to do the small amount that I was with, just the Healthy University and the Jewish Family Services, and I really appreciate that.
And I think, to speak to Danielle, I think that we are going to try to make this, excuse my crazy kid. But I think that we're going to continue, at least for a while, to have hybrid meetings. So if you can't join in person as much as we would love you to, because we also realize that a lot of people travel for work. You also have kids, you have so many other things going on. At least from a training counsel's perspective, we will probably offer hybrid trainings at least into the next year. And then after that, we'll see.
I think it's fantastic because don't get me wrong, I loved going to a meeting and getting a glass of wine and listening, but I'm literally doing the same thing right now while my husband's doing kindergarten homework. I'm sitting on the couch with a glass of LaCrema and
I love it.
And
I miss you, Danielle. I don't think I've seen you since, the Derby party at the Kansas City Museum.
Yeah. No, you'll be glad to know I'm still alive. So.
Well, I know you're still alive. I do still see your Facebook posts, but unless
it's been tough. But my kids are in school for the most, so that's been a huge lifesaver. But I really empathize with the amount of people that are trying to balance all of this and have had to cut into your own personal time. And in my personal time, for me, was what I gave up to go to the league, right? In those opportunities, and then COVID, and it was like even less personal time. So like I said, I'm just so thankful for the flexibility that there's been. And even we did some grocery delivery, and my kids loved that. We went to like the old towers of, or the towers of old Overland Park, and they had so much fun carrying boxes in and hitting the buttons on the elevators. And it's like the small things that we could do that really still made us feel like we were helping out and still kind of exposed the kids to different ways of life. It was neat that we could still do that this year when everything else was shut down.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I think this year has been so hard. Let's be honest, I'm actually an introvert. I just trot out.
I don't believe that. I don't
believe it. I only trot out my extrovert when I have to do things like this. But even my introvert has been struggling this year because there is that, I guess I'm an introvert, what people would call an introverted extrovert or
ambivert.
Yeah.
I'm like that too, where I'm like, I enjoy people, like I love being around people, but I recharge by myself.
Yeah. I'm like, I need those moments for myself to where like, I don't want anybody else involved. Like I need a moment to just get my thoughts together. And I get that. Like sometimes it's very hard for me to engage like all day, every day. Obviously, this one does not feel the same way. She's
I'll say
very
from,
much an
so,
extrovert, but
one of the things, so like I moved to Kansas City in late 2019. So I didn't even really get to experience living here before we got shut down. And then I was on Holiday Mart, which was probably one of the, I mean, I think all the committees were challenging, but that was a particularly tough situation to be in. And so being marketing co-chair this year, I talked a lot to Danny, and I was like, I think we need to, like, in some ways go back to the basics of being a volunteer organization and just really loving on our members. And like, I think that that's one of the things that 2020 has taught us, is that, you know, kind of going back to the basics of just what it means to be a part of a women's organization, and being a support network for each other. You know, obviously we have a job to do, but you know, we're sharing our time with each other and our energy with each other, and making sure we steward that appropriately.
yeah, I think we always like to call it your time's treasure, your time, your treasures, and your talents. But yes, I agree with that. And I think that, yes, I think that this past year has definitely taught us something. So I'm looking forward to seeing how the next year works out. I think there are so many amazing new leaders within this organization that will rise to the top, and also the people that want to be in more of those community placements. So I'm excited to see what next year turns out to be. Even though Karen is kind of sunsetting into her
Sustainerhood.
sustainerhood. It'll be, I mean, I feel like next year will be, especially for those of you that have been newer members. So if you were a new member last year or the year before, you kind of got shortchanged a little bit, right? So I'm kind of waiting to see like how you guys embrace leadership, how you guys fall into your community roles. I think you're gonna I mean, from everybody that I've seen so far, all of you are like great incoming leaders, and I can't wait to see all of this happen.
And this might
So,
be a
Ash-
question. Oh, sorry.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
you go ahead. Go ahead. I was just
I was
gonna
gonna
ask a
say, this
question
might
too,
be a
but-
question for Karen. So I did the 21-day racial equity challenge thing, and I know that we have like a meeting coming up for people who did that.
Yeah.
But that, unfortunately, I can't go to that meeting because I'm also on Young Friends of Starlight, and it's right on that same board
Oh,
tonight.
wait, you are?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. Okay.
So it's literally at the same time. But I was wondering if there is other plans for kind of follow up with that. I was thinking about it just from being on Holiday Mart, and kind of, I don't know who else on Holiday Mart may have gone through that training, or if there's going to be like a liaison type of thing with the different councils or committees for structure with that. I was just thinking about how I could impact diversity and inclusion in Holiday Mart, or if there's a plan for that.
So excellent question. I anticipate that yes, there will be continued conversations. My goal by the end of this year, and I'm getting in right at the nick of time in early May, was to convene the women who did make the commitment to go through that 21-day challenge. I went through it. It was intense. It was life-changing. It was all of the things. I know AGLI is also rolling out a 21-day light. It's a 10-day equity challenge that people can sign up for now. We're actually putting the details in forthcoming in the upcoming May 1st e-blast. And so the way we have structured, the way that our league just voted back in September, I say all the votes, to move forward with our director of diversity, equity, inclusion, who we voted and approved Monica Curls to take that role next year. And then she will have a committee of 9 women that work as liaisons to each of the different councils. So it'll be at the council level to begin with, because I am a firm believer that we have to walk before we run. And so the hope is that the council liaisons will be able to educate and help spark conversations at the council level. And then the women who sit on the councils, which is typically the chairs of all in this, Danny and Kirsten will sit on Fund Development Council. Whomever their step ups will sit and kind of audit Fund Development Council with their step up year. Then they can take that information back down to the committees. That's always the hope. It also very much is dependent on the individuals and things like that. But I would anticipate that as more JLK CMO women go through those trainings, whether it's the full 21-day or if it's the 10-day, that conversations will continue. And that's one thing that, I'll just plug the board of directors. Like, every person who sits in that seat is always happy to get ideas. And if you put an idea out there and you don't get a response, then nudge them, because they're busy. They've got lots of things going on. And if you've nudged them like once or twice and you still don't get a response, then elevate it, take it up to the president and say, hey, I had this idea and, I want to try to see what could happen, and, keep talking. And it's not like a tattletale thing, like, oh, I'm going to go to the president and the president-elect. It's more like, hey, I know this individual is busy. I'm going to show them grace, but I really want to get this idea out in the universe so that others can kind of work on it or see what could happen. So, don't ever be afraid to, speak up, show up, do the things. It's too bad you can't make it. I think it'll be a great conversation, but I'm confident it won't be the last one.
Okay, good. I was super bummed to miss that, because my little group we still meet every month for a racial equity happy hour.
My
but I was
group
like, I want to do it for Kansas City too. So
I love that. I really enjoyed the women in my group too. It was, I was in the first cohort. So it was back in July, and wow, that was an intense couple months to start out my president year, but I am so grateful for that experience. And I really encourage any of the women on the line who haven't been able to do that. And especially since they've shortened it to 10 days, I think it'll be much less overwhelming, but hopefully just as impactful.
And I will say that I actually participated in that too. I was with the president-elect at Junior League of Topeka, and then some people, 3 people out of Tennessee, so 2 in Nashville, 1 in Memphis. Then we also had Northwest Rogers, Arkansas, and 1 in College Station. I will say that my 21-day racial equity challenge was fraught with weather issues. So that was during the ice storm that the South can't handle. So we lost College Station for a week. We ended up losing Northwest Rogers, Arkansas for, the entire duration after the first 2 days. But we got a lot of amazingly great insight from Memphis, especially. They gave us some great, amazing resources as to how diversity, equity, and inclusion works within their league and how they have kind of shifted their demographic within their organization. So we're always working with other leagues too. So I feel like it's an important topic, and I think we're hopefully moving towards shifting the narrative and as to how we work. But
I actually have a question for Karen. I am just now finishing my new member year, so it's been a little bit of a crazy year. But are new members allowed to participate in this equity challenge?
Yes, all levels are able to participate. Like I said, the 10-day challenge information will be in the May 1st e-blast coming out at the end of this week. I can't believe it's May 1st. And you could just sign up directly with there'll be a link, and you just go through the AGLI portal to sign up.
But absolutely you can. And I don't see your name, but whoever you are, bless your heart for sticking in there this year, especially for our new member. I mean, Holiday Mart got Lexi.
I'll turn on my video so you can see me.
You know, Lexi, oh gosh, Holiday Mart, I was right there with you guys, like seeing what was going on. That was really, I mean, it's been tough all around. New members, same. Oh my gosh, I'm so grateful for all the new members who are like, yeah, I'm ready to go active. I don't really know what's going on. Let's do this. But I am a firm believer that all of our collective experiences will make us stronger, smarter, more resilient. We'll have learned a lot. We'll look back in 10 years and be like, wow, I can't believe that we did that. And so I'm just extraordinarily grateful for every single member, new member, active member, sustaining member who hung in there with us and is gonna come along on the ride next year, because it'll be a lot of fun. And I'll be happy watching you guys from sustainerhood.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I did not know how this league year was gonna work out, as most people didn't, right? But we shifted, we pivoted, we persevered, and we actually made this a year that we can be grateful for. And I'm super happy about that. Like, we did everything that we possibly could to make this the best year possible, given what we were working with, right? So
I want to say one thing. So when I was in the Junior League of Salt Lake City, I was on one of the projects we did was archiving old minutes. And I was responsible for archiving minutes from 1939 to 1942. So like right at the start of World War II, right? And like seeing the comments and like the leadership. And I was like, Karen, your minutes are going to go down in history. So in 100 years, people are going to go through and be like, wow, she was like a wartime president, basically. I mean, it was just crazy reading, and, seeing the Junior League survives. And also it was so funny, some of the little comments about like women have not changed. So like some of the comments were like, Mrs. John Carruthers is rather chatty, so she might be best placed on a marketing committee or on communications. I was like, us girls don't change.
Junior League lives on.
But anyway, I'm gonna have to hop off, but this was super awesome, and it's been great, like seeing people and just having a chance to just chat.
Junior League of Wyandotte and Johnson, do you guys have anything else that you want to add, contribute, whatever?
I don't think so. I think this was great. It was nice seeing you guys, and call me for a winery anytime.
Of course. And if you guys want to be included in some of our trainings, I'll reach out to you.
Yeah, for sure. Lisa takes over like June 1st. So I think you have her email address. So
I do. So I'll reach out to you guys to see if you want to be a part of any of those.
Sounds great. Thanks so much for the invite.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye. Anybody else? Good.
So Ash and Karen, I wanted to ask a question.
Yeah.
So this is my 6th active year. So my first new member year, I did 2 years on marketing, and then a leave of absence, and then the Jewish Family Services and Healthy You, or I guess, yeah, somewhere those two were connected, I think. Honestly, I can't remember, to be honest with you. But this year,
Danielle again.
Yes.
Okay. I recognize the voice, but like the only other name I can see on the screen is Abby. So
no, it's in the freezer. My husband's asking where the wine went, and I'm like, no, I didn't drink it all. No, it's
love
fine.
your husband. He's awesome.
So the last couple of years, I've done the Jewish Family Services, and I've really liked it. And this year, I was really hoping to, because my son is at the Jewish Community Center for daycare, right? So this year I'm kind of looking at the placements for the next year, and I've got like 4 that I'm really interested in, and most of them are around kids, like the Phoenix House that does like the younger kids, like the reading. And then of course I'd love to stay with Jewish Family Services, but it, I think our website says that 2 years of a placement is about it. But I had emailed my chairs and said, hey, is there like a way that I could get this third placement? And if I could just come in the mornings to the food pantry there at the Jewish Community Center, like I'd have 40 hours in a month, so I guess like what is the stance?
Can you do it as a
Um,
community practicum placement, Karen?
Well, that's what I was going to ask, was like, what's the
Okay.
stance?
So
I want to help. I just really need
Sure.
the convenience.
So I'm going to give you the official answer, and then I'm going to give you the side door answer. Okay. The official answer is the league policy is that you can't be in a placement more than 2 years in a row. The back door.
And that's fair. Yeah.
The back door is if you feel really strongly and you have a compelling reason why you would want to repeat, put your in your top 5 for your placement, put Jewish Family Services and send an email to our placement chair, and the algorithm will work things out.
Okay, perfect. I can do that. Yeah, like I said, I've really, and my second, I just didn't really get a chance to help, because things kind of shut down. And now that the J is still open full time, and the food pantry's still there, and they're still handing out groceries and things, and it's a real opportunity. It would just be very convenient for me to make a large impact there. So I'm hoping that I can do that again, but if not, like I really want to work with the small kids, because I mean, Karen, I know you've got kids. I think they're a little bit older than mine, but like you see how much of a difference, like right out of the gate, the difference that a good influence makes, or a good, well, just the extra help, right? The extra reading, the extra math, and we're frustrated in math over here. So.
I feel that. Yeah, I'm actually looking up our placement chair's name. It escaped me, so give me 2 seconds. But you can, the system will not bump you out if you put a placement that you've been in twice.
Okay, that's good to know. That's good to know. Because like I said, I've really enjoyed the Healthy You. I took my daughter there, to the Operation Breakthrough location, and then the not Thorn, or is it Thornberry? Like 34th and
yeah,
I can't remember what the North and South Street was, but she really loved it, meeting other kids, and we made like the monster muffins, the spinach and honey muffins. Like I really liked it. It was so much fun. So I'm hoping that I can, stay in a placement like that. But I guess ultimately my question was, have we thought about like layering some of these partners that we have, right? So maybe through Healthy You, we identify some kids that may need some additional guidance with their emotions, right? Like one time we were paired with a little boy whose dad was killed in gang violence. And I feel like that would have maybe partnered, with, I think it was like the Amethyst, was it Amethyst place that did like the grief counseling and things? Like, have we looked into like what we could layer, on that? Or maybe, I guess, and I didn't have the knowledge to be like, you know what? Hey, you should check out the other league resource that we partner with,
Yeah. I think so. There's kind of 2 answers to that question. The challenge with because our organization, as you know, you're a 6-year active member, because we turn over so fast, there has to be some sort of semblance of organization as to how we mobilize and get people in their slots and go forth. One of the things that I'm super excited to see what the outcome is that we started this year was we have on occasion, they're called special committees. They're basically an ad hoc committee. It's a short-term committee that people volunteer for above and beyond their placement and to work on certain kind of key items, questions, tasks. And so in December, we formed a community engagement special committee. We asked for volunteers. Sometimes, like, all special committees are by our standing rules chosen and sat like by staffed, if you will, by the president. So the president has full autonomy to pick whoever they want. There's not a lot of things that we have full autonomy to do whatever we want, but that is one of them. But I felt very strongly that I wanted to open it up to see who would come forth to volunteer for that special committee. And we staffed it with we had a really great, very strong response, overwhelmingly strong response. And then Kimberly and Susan, who had been just named as PEE, and I sat down and looked at all of the different women and tried to put the committee together to be as diverse in terms of points of view, experience, all the things. And so those women are actually looking at all the ways we engage in the community, from action team, community grants and volunteers, signature programming, community endowment, and the CBG selection process, all of it. So they're looking at it in the entirety and probably going to make some big recommendations and shifts in how we go forth into the community. It would be my anticipation, but really it's kind of up to that committee and what they find. And the work they're doing is really meaningful because I think it will make a profound impact on how we work with the community, and ideas like that. And how could we be a little bit more nimble or a little bit more flexible in how we go to market, if you will. Not
right,
from
and just kind of that two birds with one stone, like you said, a little more nimble, right? Like, and making sure that, like, in that situation, that people like me would be aware, when this little 6-year-old was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was his dad, he was like, yeah, my dad was killed. And the mom said, like, yeah, it was a gang violence thing. And I was just really caught off guard. Like, and then when I left that day, I was like, God, I should have been like, what was the name of that place that we partner with, that does the grief counseling and and I could not think of what it was. And I don't know, like I said, I'm just kind of like wondering, like, if there's a way that we could do like a whole, like, or multi-life challenges aspect approach,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think
Great
it'll be
idea.
really interesting to see what comes out of this special committee. And it's one of the things that I'm kind of most excited from a future sustainer, past president point of view, is to really, like, keep an eye out for what the decisions are and how they decide to move forward. So I don't really have a great, like, yes, we can actually do this and this is how the path forward, but I have an answer that's, hey, we're looking at all things and nothing is not on the table. That's a double negative. Everything is on the table.
All the things are on the table right now. Right?
It's a crowded table, huh?
It's a very crowded table. It's like Thanksgiving dinner for 2 families in a 1-family household. So now I'm sure we can figure something out for next year for you. I mean, you can always come to training council. I know we still have stuff available.
I think I do
Right
have
now,
that
Lydia.
one on my list. And well, I have let me tell you what's on my list, because I emailed about the JFS again.
Yeah.
And then the community kits committee.
Yes.
The action team, Phoenix family, and then the JFS and Healthy You. So I only have 4 picked out that I'm like, yes, like, that's really something that, like, I can get behind and, like, put some energy into. So I haven't put any of these in. I've just paid my dues. I haven't put any in yet, but I don't know. I've been kind of asking around, like, what people know about this or that, and kind of Googling some of the websites, and seeing what I know.
Yeah.
Danielle, you and I can have a conversation offline about this, but yeah.
We
Um,
should do that. Ash,
Well,
like,
We've
let's do a
just taken
happy
it-
hour.
You and I have
and
been
let's
friends
take
for a
this offline.
while, right? So
Yeah.
we can talk about some of your options.
Yep.
Within whatever council. It doesn't have to be with me, even though I'd love to have you with me. And-
Yeah, let me know when you're available, maybe this week before like sign up officially is done.
Oh yeah. I'm
And, you know, we
actually
can get a call or a happy hour or something.
throughout the
Talk about
day
more.
tomorrow. Well, actually, I still have to work out some things for the training tomorrow, but Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I'm available all day. So,
Okay, yeah, that sounds good.
and then, I mean, and Abby's still on here because I love her too. So, or is
Yeah.
she-
If you want to go back and answer your question, Danielle, you can at whatever committee you're officially on right now, if you wanted to stay on it, just put it in your top 5.
Okay, yep, I will do that.
Okay.
Abby, anything? Maybe not. Okay, I feel like Abby's probably good.
I just realized I didn't have my video on this whole time. I've been like over here, like talking to you guys, you know, like with whole facial gestures and then I was like,
all
oh,
the
start video.
facial, all the facial spots. No, I miss you. I haven't seen you in so long. I haven't seen you since
Daddy needs it.
Derby.
Yeah, no, it's been a while.
Right? So
Daddy's spider down there.
yeah, the Derby party at the Kansas City Museum. So you and your hubby. So
Yeah, do we know if they're hosting that again? I know we're
they
doing
are, but
the
not until September.
art that blows thing.
Yeah, they're doing it, but not until September. So I got an email from Paul Gutierrez, who's I think their director.
I'm sorry, repeat that one more time.
So I got an email from Paul Gutierrez, who's their, I think is director of development and whatever. So he emailed me probably about 3-4 months ago, a little bit longer maybe. So yeah, he's like, are you coming to Derby? I'm like, when is it? It's like
Yeah.
no, September.
I hope we can go again. It was fun. It was a really good
That's
time.
a great time. So anyway, if nobody has anything else like relevant to this, and of course, Danielle, you know, you can always contact me. Abby, you know, you can as well. So I feel like Abby and I and Danielle and I have always had like ongoing text conversation. So
We run into each other at the oddest of places.
I guess actually that's 100% true. You and I always run into each other at the most random of places. So.
Yeah. And do we have anybody that's doing the art that blows this year? Did you say? Because I know we just took some friends, some like parent friends, and it was so much fun.
Jen Graves is doing it.
Okay.
No.
Right.
Jen Graves did it last
Jen
year.
Graves did it before.
We have Shanita.
Shanita is doing it, yeah.
Kelly Engstrom, Monica Curls, and Kelly, Shanita, Monica. I can't think of who.
Another person who it might be assisting her. Was that right? But and then there's a few of us doing Starlight. So for Starlight, it's myself and Chelsea Cheney.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. She did art that blows the 2 years ago when we went.
Yep,
And it was a really good
And I saw
time.
you
Yeah,
there.
I mean, like for the price of the ticket and everything that was included, like it was a good deal.
So now Chelsea Cheney and I are doing the first, like the inaugural class of Starlight All Stars. So Chelsea has been a part of this organization for a while as chair of Young Friends of Starlight. Deanna Diebolt pulled me aside before the board of directors meeting started on, what was that, last Wednesday?
Yes.
She's like, oh, I heard you're on this. I'm like, how do you know? That hasn't been even sent out yet. She's like, oh, I have somebody else I have another friend that's doing this. And she sent me the whole list of everybody that's doing the Young Friends of Starlight thing. So I'm on the list of all stars for Starlight. So
That's awesome, Ash. Hey, this has been super fun. Thanks for planning it. Like I said, I'm sorry I was late. I've got to hop off and get on another call. So Danielle, I'm just going to say really quick, I saw your video with your daughter because I had to approve all the videos for Healthy You. So precious. That was like the most amazing one.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Bryn, do you remember the video we
adorable.
made with the sandwiches? They liked it
Yeah, loved it.
Watch it.
because I had to turn it into them.
Yeah. You're a superstar, princess. You are a superstar, and I can tell you're a great testimony. So I'm gonna.
It was a very stressful 10
I
minutes.
need to go to bed and look at me
Yeah.
some milk right now.
We will. Yeah, well, I'm glad because she was so excited. She, like I said, she thought it was a YouTube channel. And I was like, sure.
It kind of is.
Sure.
It's on the internal YouTube
It is.
channel.
It is. Yeah, it is.
All right.
So,
Bye,
yeah.
guys. Have a
Bye,
great
guys.
Bye.
night.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
So yeah, anyway.
Milk.